Jalen Smith and the Chicago Bulls have come to a 3-year, $27 million contract agreement. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already heard about this. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the Jalen Smith contract, giving my overall thoughts on it. I like the overall deal, and also be talking about the financial situation for the Bulls after this Jalen Smith contract has already been put into play. So make sure to hit that like button if you're new to this channel. Hit that subscribe button. Jalen Smith has been on the Indiana Pacers the last 2 seasons and was on the Phoenix Suns to start his career. He's a good overall 3-point shooter. 42% on limited attempts last season. I overall still, I like Jalen Smith, and obviously getting a big man that can shoot threes is a good thing because the Bulls haven't had that in a while. But here is his numbers the past season. Last season he came off the bench a lot, and so only 17 minutes a game, but he averaged about 10 points and 5 rebounds. And I think he has some shot blocking ability in my opinion, at least maybe some potential. The numbers don't really back that up though, so it doesn't seem like he's gonna be much of a shot blocker, and people have already said he's kind of like a liability defensively, which is fine if the Bulls are actually trying to be bad this season. So I'm not really too worried about it, but overall though, it's a good use of the mid-level exception for the Bulls. Here's Jalen Smith's per 36 numbers, which I think is more enticing to look at. If he truly is going to become the starting center of the future for this team, I don't expect these numbers to be put up, but 20 and 11, that'd be crazy, but I think we can expect, his points to significantly go up, and then obviously his rebounds to probably get into the double-digit territory. If he actually does become the starter and is getting 32 plus minutes per game, and he'll probably also increase his block averages as well. So overall, again, I like this deal a lot. Oh, actually, let's see. It was even less than 3-point attempts. So it's 2.5 3-point attempts on 42% shooting. That needs to increase, in my opinion, for next season, but, I'm not too worried about that. And then last season, he overall shot 59% from the field, which is fantastic. So hopefully he keeps that up in terms of his field goal percentage. So, again, I like this deal a lot. I like that the Bulls went out and used their mid-level exception on a young player to kind of take a flyer on, see what he has, add him to the young core that they already have, and, White, Giddey, P. Will, Buzelis, Io, etc., and just kind of see how he can fit in. And especially with this sort of contract, if he actually becomes a starter, then he automatically is outplayed this contract that the Bulls have given him. So, speaking of the contract here, let's talk about this contract for Jalen Smith and the Bulls, okay? As you can see here, Jalen Smith has already been added into the Bulls cap financials on Spot Track. It's the estimation, though. So, his estimated salary for the first year is about $8.5 million. As we talked about, it's a 3-year, $27 million deal. And if you're wondering, okay, how does this break down? This is, again, Spot-Track's estimation. We're not 100% sure about the breakdown of the contract yet, but this is what I think it's going to be. As you can see, it's 8.5, 9, and then 9.4. That goes up by 5% every single season. So, Bulls got Jalen Smith on a really solid deal, in my opinion, especially if he becomes the starting center. And even just for a solid role player, this is very, very good money. To get someone like Jalen Smith on. So I'm happy about it overall. I'm just happy the Bulls didn't spend it on someone like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, there are rumors that the Bulls were interested in, which just did not make any sense in my head whatsoever. Okay. If you're wondering about the financials, okay, so this is where I'm going to really start talking about the financial situation for the Bulls, okay. So the way that the Bulls signed Jalen Smith is with the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, okay. As you can see here, the Bulls had this non-taxpayer mid-level exception, and for this season, it is about $12.86 million, okay? So that is money, $12.86 million, that the Bulls and other teams can go out and spend on free agents, okay? And even if the Bulls are over the cap, which they are, they're allowed to go ahead and spend this money and sign a free agent out of it, which the Bulls did with Jalen Smith. Obviously, this wasn't using the entire mid-level exception, so according to Spot Track's estimation, they used about $8.5 million of the $12.86, okay? So the Bulls have about, $4-ish million left over on the non-taxpayer mid-level exception they can go and spend. The Bulls also have the biannual exception that they can go ahead and spend, which is $4.6 million. The thing is, though, is that you can only sign a player to a 2-year contract under the biannual exception. So the most they could give out is a 2-year, $9 million that this would be. So it's not that much money, and obviously not that much financial security you can give out with the biannual exception. I personally think right now with the roster and where it stands, I don't think the Bulls are probably going to make another significant move unless they can trade, Levine, Vucevic, maybe Lonzo Ball, which I don't think Levine and Ball, their contracts are not going to get moved, I don't think. Maybe you can get rid of Vooch and Javon Carter's contract, but for now, I think this is kind of the team for at least for the time being for a little bit, and we'll see what happens with DeMar DeRozan. Will Gottlieb broke this down. This is his salary breakdown of Jalen Smith's contract. I'm gonna roll a spot track, so I think it's gonna be more like this than this, but that's just at least in my opinion. But I trust Will Gottlieb still. And this is the more important thing. And according to his estimation, which again, it's probably not perfect, but the Bulls are going to be 13.3, or maybe let's just say $13 million below the tax right now. So if you're wondering, like, well, what does that mean? The Chicago Bulls right now, they are about $13 million below the tax. And if you're wondering what the tax is for this season, the tax line or the tax threshold is $170.8 million. So right now, the Bulls are $13 million below $170 million. So do the math, 157. Okay. So right now, the current roster and it with all the salaries is at about $157 million. Okay. And Will Gottlieb also then made a follow-up post to this saying that it's pretty much that DeMar DeRozan is gone. DeMar DeRozan is not going to sign a contract for $13 million to return to the Bulls, which makes a lot of sense. And it's obvious that the Bulls are not going to be going into the tax because, you know, it's the Bulls. So the Bulls are not going to be going to the tax, and DeMar DeRozan is most likely going to be gone now with this move happening with Jalen Smith. Now, the other thing is this, that this is the more important piece to talk about. When it comes to doing a sign and trade for DeRozan, it becomes a lot harder now because of this Jalen Smith move. I still think, again, the Jalen Smith move was great, and I 100% do this before even thinking about a DeMar DeRozan sign and trade, because this is guaranteed to get Jalen Smith, and with the DeMar DeRozan sign and trade, you don't know what's going to happen, right? But a potential sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan gets a lot harder now because the Bulls only have $13 million of wiggle room before the tax line. So that means that if someone's going to try to do a sign and trade with you, the Bulls are going to probably only want $13 million or less. And I'm going to guess DeRozan is going to get more than $13 million in this offseason. Who knows? Maybe not. But it's going to be a lot harder for any team or for the Bulls to do a sign and trade and get anything in return for DeMar DeRozan now, which, again, you do the Jalen Smith thing 1,000,000% before you even think about a DeMar DeRozan sign and trade. So good job by the Bulls prioritizing this before the DeMar DeRozan stuff gets figured out. Now, to talk about this other part here, which is that the Bulls are now hard capped. Okay, I brought up a graphic here. This is by Keith Smith, who runs Spot Track, and I'm aware it's a lot of stuff here, but don't focus on the red because the Bulls are nowhere near the second apron. So just completely X this out of your mind. We just need to focus on these two things. Okay, so I'm going to explain why the Bulls are hard capped, which also limits their ability to probably make a signing trade for DeRozan if he gets a significant, contract. So the Bulls are over the cap, so that they apply to here. And that gives them the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is $12.8 million, which we talked about before, and the biannual exception, which is $4.7 million, which we talked about before. Okay. Now, it is also important to note that if you ever use the non-taxpayer mid-level exception or the biannual exception, or as you can see here, as we move to the third column, if you ever do acquire a player via sign and trade, if you ever use more than 100% in salary matching in a trade, you become hard capped at the first apron. Okay. And so for the Bulls, with them signing Jalen Smith, they have triggered the hard cap. Why? Because they use the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. If you use more than the taxpayer mid-level exception, which is $5.2 million, that's the mid-level exception that tax teams are given, okay? If you use more than $5.2 million of your non-taxpayer mid-level exception, you trigger the hard cap. And if you're wondering, okay, what is the hard cap now? The hard cap for this season is the first apron, okay? And the first apron is set at $178 million, okay? Let's make this clear. There is the luxury tax line, which is at $170 million, but then there is the hard cap at $178 million, okay? So signing Jalen Smith to $8.5 million deal, right, in his first year, that triggers the hard cap because you use more than $5.2 million of your mid-level exception. So this is also important now because if you think about it, if the Bulls are about $157 million in total salary, then the most that they can actually only take back because of the hard cap would be about $21 million in return. And that gets them into the luxury tax, which we don't think they're going to want to do that. But if they are willing to take back more money in a potential sign and trade, the most they can take back now is at that 178 mark, which is kind of about $21 million. Okay. So there's something to keep in mind. The sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan is a very hard thing to do now for the Bulls. I think right now it is most likely that DeMar DeRozan walks, but at least it's just my opinion. And so that is my overall financial breakdown of the Chicago Bulls. I know it's a lot to kind of figure out all at once, but if you have any questions, go ahead and just leave in the comment section down below and I'll answer it for you. But I want to go ahead and talk about this because I think a lot of people, for some reason, still think the Bulls have money to spend in terms of cap space. The Bulls don't. The Bulls do not have any cap space, okay? They signed Jalen Smith with the mid-level exception, and they still have the biannual exception and part of the mid-level exception to spend here, which I don't expect the Bulls to really spend at any given moment. But we'll see. Maybe a move happens here to fill out the 15th roster spot on the team. One more time, going back to Jalen Smith, though, I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Bulls do with him. I want him to at least be starting next season, so whether that's Vooch come off the bench or trade Vooch away, which they should. I personally think just starting Jalen Smith will just be better for this team overall. And I want to see how he fits in with, you know, Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Josh Giddey, Booz Ellis, etc. So I would personally start him next season, see what he has, see if he can increase that points per game total, and see if he can increase his rebounding and maybe improve his defense as well. I don't expect this team to be good defensively next season, but we're supposed to be bad. So, you know, bad defense means a bad team. So that's that. But overall, though, I do like the Jalen Smith contract because it is less than the mid-level exception currently, and especially with the cap going up, what the projections say it's going to happen, this is going to be a very cheap contract in like a year or two. And obviously, you know, it's only a 3-year deal. So I like it a lot. I think this is a really good fit for the Bulls. Jalen Smith is only 24, so he slides right into, you know, where Kobe and Ayo are in terms of age. And I'm excited to see what he can do in a Bulls uniform and see how he can potentially fit into this Bulls little rebuild, hopefully. Again, hopefully it's a rebuild, but we're not entirely sure. Because there's some things that tell me it's more of a retool, and I will be upset if that's the case. We can't retool when it comes to this sort of team at its current state. But that's all I have for you guys in this video. Let me know what you guys think of Jalen Smith in the comment section down below. Make sure you hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see y'all for the Jalen Smith breakdown video. Peace.